age where if Kelsey Mitchell demands the supermax, because again, there's a difference between the max and the supermax. Like, I think Kelsey Mitchell is absolutely worth the max. The supermax, like, I think the supermax is 100k more, and like that 100k can be the difference between you getting and not keeping a really good role player. That being said, yeah, it's an all-around different scenario when it comes down to all the.
That hesitation right there tells you everything. This isn't a simple question anymore. The Indiana Fever are facing a decision that could define the next 5 years of their franchise, and it's a decision nobody wanted to make 6 months ago. Do you trade an all-WNBA first-team guard who just had a career year? The same guard who played until the wheels literally fell off in the playoffs? The answer used to be obvious. Now, it's complicated, because here's what changed. Kelsey Mitchell is entering unrestricted free agency. She's eligible for a supermax contract worth about $250,000 per year. And that extra $100,000 difference between a regular max and a supermax, that could be the difference between keeping both Lexi Hull and Nalissa Smith or losing one of them. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark comes off her rookie deal next year, Aaliyah Boston the year after. The math is starting to look ugly.
So, realistically, why you would not keep Kelsey Mitchell? Why you would, she just made an all-W first team. She just made an all-WNBA first team, and that is a massive thing. That is massive. Like, there have been 2 Fever guards since Tamika Catchings to have made an all-W first team, and she's one of them. She is one of them. Like, it is a massive, massive thing. Like, she was one of the best guards in W last year. Some of the things that she did were almost superhuman.
Let's establish something first. Kelsey Mitchell absolutely earned this contract debate. She made all WNBA first team in 2024. Only 2 Fever guards have done that since Tamika Catchings retired, Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. That's the company we're talking about. She averaged 19.2 points per game, shot 40% from 3, and was the second leading scorer on a team that made the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. And that playoff performance against Connecticut, that wasn't just good basketball. That was legendary. She played 38 minutes in an elimination game, scored 23 points, and you could see her physically exhausted by the 4th quarter. She gave everything. That performance alone bought her a lifetime of goodwill in Indianapolis. If Kelsey Mitchell wants to retire a Fever legend, she's already done enough to earn it. So why are we even having this conversation?
We think we can survive without Kelsey. You have, if it's a choice of like keeping, where it's, if you keep Kelsey, you lose both Lexi and Sophie. Or you could do what I actually believe is an almost, not a quite a like for like, but let's say you're able to bring in Odyssey Sims. Imagine Odyssey Sims plays on a minimum. I think Odyssey Sims is Kelsey Mitchell light. And she's not as good as Kelsey Mitchell, but like, I think if she went to played with Caitlin, she could play
the asset situation. That's the brutal reality nobody wants to say out loud. Right now, today, Kelsey Mitchell is one of the most valuable trade assets in the WNBA. An all-WNBA first-team guard who's only 28 years old, entering her prime with proven playoff experience. Teams would line up to make offers. But here's the clock ticking in the background. She loses her core designation after this season. That means if the Fever don't extend her, she walks in free agency next summer. For nothing. Zero return. After 7 years of development, after finally breaking through to relevance, the Fever could watch their second-best player leave and get absolutely nothing back. Compare that to what they could get right now. We're talking about realistic scenarios like the Seattle Storm offering their 3rd overall pick plus a young player, or Minnesota packaging the 2nd pick with a cost-controlled rotation piece. Or Dallas, and this is the interesting one, Dallas offering Arik Ogunbowale and the 1st overall pick to solve their chemistry issues and get a guard who actually fits with their timeline.
Next year, Caitlin Clark the following year. So you have to prep for that. And if you're not prepping for these players coming off their rookie scale deals, then I think you're just going to be left behind. Like, you have to prep for these players coming off rookie scale deals. And I don't know how many teams and players are prepping for that, but I think it is really important. So you've got that, and I also think you can get a king's ransom for Kelsey Mitchell. Like, if you were to you could potentially, I think with the way the new CBA is, people are saying they could get a Sonia Citron and a pick if they went to and the 4th pick if they went to the Mystics. No, they couldn't. No, they couldn't. Realistically, for Kelsey Mitchell, I'm just trying to think of what you...
Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, depth. The Fever's biggest weakness in 2024 wasn't talent at the top. It was what happened when Caitlin or Kelsey sat down. The bench scoring was inconsistent. The defensive rotations got shredded. They were one injury away from catastrophe all season. A supermax for Kelsey Mitchell. That $250,000 eats up nearly 20% of a projected $7 million salary cap under the new CBA. You're left trying to build a championship-caliber bench with scraps. Can you keep Lexi Hull, who's becoming a legitimate 3-and-D wing? Can you retain Nalissa Smith, who's still only 24 and just needs consistent minutes? Probably not both, if Kelsey gets the supermax. Here's the alternative scenario that front offices actually discuss behind closed doors. Trade Kelsey for multiple assets. Sign someone like Odyssey Sims on a minimum deal. She's not Kelsey Mitchell, but she's 70% of Kelsey at 20% of the cost. Use the savings to keep both Lexi and Nalissa. Add a veteran presence in free agency. Suddenly you've got depth, you've got financial flexibility, and you've got assets for the future.
Offer one and get one? Like, is a cost-controlled 4 years of AZ Fudd? Like, is that worth it for the Fever to make? Like, they're the questions you have to think about. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, my opinion is you keep Kelsey Mitchell, but it's not that straightforward. It's absolutely not that straightforward. Like, for Dallas, they're going to try to throw Arike in that deal. And it's like, no, you just let Arike fucking walk. We don't want Arike. Heck, fuck it. Give us Arike. Give us Arike and one.
But there's a massive counter-argument that makes this whole discussion uncomfortable. Caitlin Clark likes playing with Kelsey Mitchell. That matters more than people realize. Chemistry isn't just a buzzword. It's the difference between a good offense and a great one. Watch how they play together. Kelsey is elite off the ball when she wants to be. She spaces the floor. She cuts at the right time. She doesn't need the ball in her hands to be effective. That's exactly what Caitlin needs. A guard who can operate as a secondary creator but doesn't demand constant touches. When Kelsey plays within the system, they're devastating together. The problem is that when she wants to be qualifier. Sometimes Kelsey reverts to isolation basketball early in the shot clock. Sometimes she forces contested mid-range shots when better options are available. It's not malicious, it's muscle memory from carrying terrible Fever teams for 6 years before Caitlin arrived. But those habits can be counterproductive on a team with legitimate offensive talent.
I'm not doing it, and I think the reality is that, like, you probably don't make the trade. You realistically don't make the trade. And I think making the trade is still like a last case or a last resort type thing. That being said, it's not a simple thing of, oh, you have to keep her, because I think she's earned in her year. And the problem is now is the asset situation. Is that Kelsey Mitchell is currently a very valuable trade asset. And I don't think long term she's gonna...
Here's where this gets really interesting. The free agency market. Let's say the Fever decide to trade Kelsey. Who do they target with that cap space? The 2025 free agent class isn't exactly loaded with impact players, but there are some intriguing buy low candidates. Maisha Hines-Allen is one name that keeps coming up. Former max-level player whose reputation took a hit in Washington. She's a versatile forward who can stretch the floor, defend multiple positions, and wouldn't command anywhere near max money after a down year. The Fever could probably get her for $120,000, half of what Kelsey would cost. Betnaja Laney is another possibility. Veteran presence, playoff experience, lower usage rate that fits better with Caitlin's ball dominance. She's not making all WNBA teams, but she's exactly the type of complementary piece that championship teams need. And here's the really creative option. What if they package a Kelsey trade to acquire Ileana Rupert from Golden State? She's 23 years old, shoots 38% from 3, plays defense, and she's on a rookie contract. That's the kind of value play that smart front offices make, trading present production for future upside while saving money.
Kelsey Mitchell, and I don't think this team's good at picking free agents. I don't think this team is good at drafting. I don't think this coach wants to play young players. I don't think anything surrounding Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston is good enough to be a championship contender. But Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston are so good. They are so good that all you have to be is competent. You don't have to be good. Like, you don't have to do what the Valkyries did and see all the value in these players. Get Ileana Rupert, who, by the way, is one of the best young bigs in the league that nobody seems to care about. Like if the Fever had Ileana Rupert, I literally made videos about that. I'm like, the Fever should literally trade their picks for Rupert. And this is way before she came over. I'm like, no, she's big. She shoots the shit out of the ball. She's mobile and she plays defense. And I'm like, literally was one of the top players around. But
so let's put this all together, because the decision the Fever make this offseason is going to define their championship window. And yes, they have a championship window. Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston are that good. The case for keeping Kelsey is straightforward. She's an all-WNBA talent who's proven she can win in this market. She has chemistry with your franchise player. She's earned loyalty after 7 years of suffering through terrible rosters, and there's something to be said for stability. You don't blow up a team that just made the playoffs and nearly upset the #1 seed. The case for trading her is more complex, but equally compelling. She's at peak trade value right now. She loses core designation after this season, meaning she could walk for nothing in 2026. The Supermax would cripple your depth and flexibility right when you need to build around 2 generational talents coming off rookie deals. And realistically, if your goal is winning a championship in 2027 or 2028, you need cost-controlled talent around Clark and Boston, not expensive veterans on the wrong side of 30. Here's what I think happens. The Fever offer Kelsey the regular max, not the Supermax. That's about $235,000 per year. Still a massive contract, still top-tier money, but it leaves just enough room to keep one of Lexi or Nalissa and add a veteran minimum piece. If Kelsey accepts that, you run it back with essentially the same core and hope the chemistry improves. But if Kelsey demands the full Supermax, then this becomes a real conversation, because at that point, you're choosing between loyalty to a player who earned it and building the best possible team around a once-in-a-generation talent in Caitlin Clark. The timeline matters here too. Caitlin's rookie contract runs through 2028. That's 4 years to win a championship before she becomes the highest-paid player in WNBA history, and your cap flexibility disappears entirely. 4 years sounds like a lot, but it's not. One injury, one bad draft pick, one free agent who doesn't pan out, suddenly you've wasted a year. And let's be honest about something nobody wants to say. This Fever roster, as currently constructed, is not winning a championship. They're not. They got swept in the first round. They had the 20th ranked defense in a 12-team league. Their bench was unplayable in crucial moments. Making the playoffs is great. It's progress. But if your goal is actually competing for titles, you need to be honest about the gaps. Can you fix those gaps while paying Kelsey Mitchell a Supermax? Maybe. The new CBA helps. The salary cap is jumping from $1.4 million to potentially $7 million. That's massive. That changes everything about roster construction. But even with a higher cap, you're still operating under constraints. You still have to make choices. Here's the question that keeps me up at night. What if you trade Kelsey, use those assets to build depth, and she goes to Seattle or Minnesota and makes another all-WNBA team while the Fever miss the playoffs? That's a fireable offense for a GM. The backlash would be nuclear. Indiana fans would riot. Caitlin might privately question whether the front office is serious about winning. But what if you keep Kelsey on a Supermax, lose both Lexi and Nalissa because you can't afford them, and your bench gets torched in the playoffs again? Then you've got an expensive core with no support, and you're stuck in that situation for 4 years. There's no perfect answer here. That's what makes this fascinating. Every choice has consequences. Every path has risks. If I'm the Fever GM, here's what I do. I sit down with Kelsey Mitchell, and I'm brutally honest. I show her the cap projections. I explain what a Supermax does to the roster. I tell her that if she wants to win a championship in Indiana, she needs to take slightly less than the maximum to give us flexibility. Not a discount. She's earned every dollar, but maybe $225,000 instead of $250,000. That $25,000 difference could be the margin between keeping Lexi Hull or losing her. And if Kelsey says no, if she rightfully points out that she's earned the Supermax and she's not taking a penny less, then you have to seriously consider trade offers. Not because you want to, not because she doesn't deserve it, but because your responsibility is building the best possible team around Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, and sometimes that requires making decisions that feel wrong in the moment but are right for the future. The nuclear option, and I mean truly nuclear, is trading Kelsey to Dallas for Arik Ogunbowale and the first pick. Arik is ball dominant, and probably doesn't fit great with Caitlyn long-term, but you flip her immediately to a third team for more assets. You take that first pick and you draft the best player available. You use the financial flexibility to sign 2 quality veterans instead of 1 supermax player. You build depth, you build for 2027, and you trust that Caitlyn Clark is good enough to elevate whoever you put around her. Is that cold-blooded? Absolutely. Is it the kind of move that gets you fired if it doesn't work? 100%. But it's also the kind of move that wins championships if you execute it correctly. So here's my final take. Kelsey Mitchell has earned the right to stay in Indiana on a max contract. She's earned loyalty. She's earned respect. If she's willing to take the regular max instead of the supermax, you keep her without hesitation, and you run it back. But if she demands every dollar of that supermax, you have to at least listen to trade offers. You have to. Because your window with Caitlyn Clark is finite, and you cannot waste years of her prime on a roster that's good but not great. What do you think the Fever should do? Should they pay Kelsey Mitchell whatever she asks and deal with the consequences? Or should they trade her while her value is at its peak and use those assets to build a championship contender? Let me know in the comments, because this is genuinely one of the most fascinating decisions any WNBA team has faced in years. And whatever they choose, we're going to know pretty quickly if they made the right call.